Hi, here we are at the end of the first semester to go over a Pear Deck grammar review. So I'm going to go through this with you in case you were absent today or you just want some extra clarification. And here's slide 1. Select the possessive pronoun. So we have she, theirs, you, me. Well, they're all pronouns, but the one that shows ownership or potentially shows ownership in a sentence is theirs. So that's the correct answer. She is a subject pronoun. You is neutral, can be subject or object pronoun, and me is an object pronoun because it would be used following a verb. Select an example of a prepositional phrase. Because it snowed. No, because is a subordinate conjunction. After she crossed, maybe. After can be a preposition, but it also can be a subordinate conjunction. So if it includes a subject and a verb after it, she crossed, now we know it's acting as a subordinating conjunction and not a preposition. Often, late, no, often's not a preposition. After the movie, yes. After the movie begins with a preposition, ends with a noun, which we call object of the preposition, does not include a subject verb. Which sentence pattern is always correct? Action verb, indirect object, direct object. Action verb, direct object, indirect object. Action verb, adverb, indirect object. Linking verb, indirect object, direct object. Well, I know this is correct because whenever you have an indirect object, or if there's an indirect object, it always comes between the action verb and direct object. So that rules out that one. This one's just an odd one. This one, I know that after a linking verb, we don't have objects. We have like predicate nominatives. What's the subject? The piece of cake fell on the floor. I know the answer is piece, and let me tell you why. Well, first of all, I would be deciding between piece and cake because those are the only two words that come before the verb here. And the subject is most likely going to be in the first part of the sentence. Of is a preposition, so of cake I would eliminate. Subjects are never in prepositional phrases, which leaves us piece as the subject. Explain when you might find a predicate nominative or a predicate adjective in a sentence. I would say a predicate nominative and a predicate adjective will always follow a linking verb. They will never follow an action verb. They identify or modify the subject. Okay, next slide. What's the difference between a helping verb and a linking verb? A linking verb, it acts as the main verb in the sentence and the only, and a helping verb will never act alone. An example is has bought the gift. So has is a helping verb, bought is the main verb, so has is helping it. If we said she has a button, has is the only verb, so then it's acting as by itself. Post and next. Okay, what is the verb phrase in this sentence? The chef has been preparing for weeks. Well, I gotta look for the main verb, which is preparing, so that would eliminate the first one. And then I look to see if there are any helping verbs that come before it, so I can look on my list of helping or auxiliary verbs, another name for helping verbs, and both has and been are helping verbs to preparing. They create the state in which preparing happened. 3 adjectives that could be used to describe this picture. Okay, well, I'm going to get out my button here just for fun. We'll make it a different color so it can stand out. I'm going to say it's bright. Well, it's kind of bright and dark. And we'll put that there. We'll say it's probably noisy. I would imagine it's a concert. And then I would say colorful. I'll put that up there. All right. So all of those modify nouns. So like bright lights, noisy crowd, colorful stage. Articles function as an adjective. They come in front of a noun, so they define a noun. They are a, an, and the. So I see a couple articles right here. An, a, and the. The only 3 articles there are. Every prepositional phrase ends with a preposition, a verb, object of the preposition, subject of the clause. This doesn't even make sense to me. For an option, there are subjects to clauses though. Well, it starts with a preposition. There are no verbs in it, so it has to be the object of the preposition. When Tony came over, the dog growled. This is an example of what sentence structure? Well, I've got a subject, Tony, came, verb. So I know this is a clause, and because it starts with when, that's a subordinating conjunction. So this is a dependent clause followed by a comma. And then the second half of the sentence, the dog growled, is an independent clause. It could stand by itself. Dog is the subject and growled is the verb. So that would make this a complex sentence. The crash of thunder rattled the house and shattered the mirror. Okay, there's a lot of prepositions in here, and there's the word and. Don't be confused. Just because it has and in it doesn't mean it's a compound sentence. If it was compound, it would have a comma before that and then there would be an independent clause that followed it. Here we only have shattered the mirror. It doesn't say who. We just know or what. It was the crash of thunder. So the crash of thunder is the complete subject, and it did 2 things. It rattled the house and shattered the mirror. So there's just one subject, 2 verbs that do the same subject, so this is actually simple. The roads were still icy because the temperature decreased. Okay, so let's look. We have the roads is a subject, were is a linking verb, so the roads were still icy. That sounds like an independent clause to me. Subject, roads, were, verb. And then we have because the temperature decreased. Well, because is a subordinating conjunction. The temperature decreased. Temperature is a subject and decreased is a verb. So there are 2 clauses here, an independent plus a dependent, so it's complex. Remember, if the second clause is dependent, you do not use a comma. When the test was distributed, the students listened and the teacher began the lesson. All right, we have our dependent clause here, begins with when, which is the subordinating conjunction, and that is followed by a subject, test, and verb was distributed, followed by a comma, and then we have the students listened. That's an independent clause. Students, subject, listen, verb. Then we have a comma and an and following that we have another subject, teacher, and a verb, began the lesson. So we have 2 independent clauses and 1 dependent clause, which would make this one a compound complex sentence. Oh, this looks like fun. Compose a sentence based on this photograph that includes a pronoun and antecedent. Okay, so get out our text here. I'm going to say the father read a book to his son. Oh, it's still in yellow. I have to change that. I don't know if it'll let me. Put it above it. There we go. So in this case, the pronoun in this is his. It's a possessive pronoun, it's his. And the antecedent is who his is referring to. Well, it's the father's son, so the antecedent for his is father. So the pronoun that is referred to as the antecedent, it comes before. So father is the antecedent, his is the pronoun. Circle all the prepositions in these sentences. All right, let's see. From, ooh, that doesn't work. I think I'm going to underline if that's okay. From, across, that's it for there. From the trucks, that's one preposition phrase, across the road. So it leaves us with sand the trucks spread, which is kind of weird. Or sand spread, that's the whole thing. On, so on the clock, the contestant answered the question in time. So those are prepositions there. This one is a compound preposition when two words are together. Because of the delay, people were late for work. The words between the pages of They Cage the Animals at Night offer an important message. Oh, there's one more. There's one in the title, at night. Okay. Explain 3 uses of commas that we have talked about. Okay, my time is limited here. So first of all, commas follow a dependent clause when it starts a sentence. Commas come before a coordinating conjunction in a compound sentence. Commas come between the date and year. Or actually, we're going to say this is city and state. All right, we have 2 minutes left to finish this. Oops. Back to, oh boy. So, let's pause for a moment. Sorry for that interruption. Difference between a phrase and a clause. A clause will include a subject and a verb always. A phrase does not do that. What questions do you have for me about the checkup tomorrow? Well, I don't have any questions, but I have a question for you. Are you ready? And here's where you can study. Did you know you can study by using Google Classroom and Classroom website resources? Did you finish your grammar concepts definition worksheet? Those are some ways you can review for tomorrow. Also, don't forget to be prepared for lists 1 through 8 for your word stems, mostly on 8. All right, see you in school.